Hi, all. Thanks so much for coming. My name is Tony Hyun, and I'm the Director of UX and CXA and UI at Royal Cyber. And with me today is Garrett Nicholson. Garrett is the Director of Functional Strategy. Together, we run the Royal Cyber digital consulting practice for Royal Cyber. We're excited to tell you all about our practice and how we are uniquely qualified to help you realize your visions for your online business. Garrett, would you like to cover off on the agenda?
Sure, thanks, Tony. Yes, so today we're going to tell you about our the Royal Cyber digital consulting practice. So we'll start off just with a very brief overview of Royal Cyber for those of you that don't know us, and then we'll get into the main body and we'll talk about our consultancy, and then we'll tell you about how we actually apply that knowledge, which is the RCDC assessments. So there's a number of different assessments that we offer, and we'll go through each of those in turn, and then we'll focus in specifically on our newest assessment called A Fresh Perspective, and we'll tell you what that's all about and what it means and what you get out of it, basically. So we'll get onto that in due course, and then we'll go on to a case study based on UFA, which is United Farmers of Alberta, and that should take us for most of the time, and then at the end of it we'll have a Q&A session where you'll be able to ask your questions and give your input, which we really look forward to. So thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Garrett. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on Royal Cyber. So we've been in the business for over 20 years. We've grown really fast. We have over 2,000 employees, and we have 3 innovation centers, and we have 11 offices globally. So, obviously a lot's happened in the last 20 years. But the one thing that hasn't changed is our vision of what we want to be, our ideal brand identity. We want to be the leading solutions providers for companies needing a holistic approach to digital transformation. Now, we started as an integrator, so we have the technical side down, but we quickly became a gold and silver partner for all of the most popular platforms in the market. And our products have become standards in e-commerce for testing automation and AR. And the litany of services we've added over the years means that we can offer our clients solutions that can take them from launch and beyond. As I mentioned today, we have offices in North America, Europe, India, New Zealand, and Australia. But with all of these varying individuals and teams, we can still tailor our teams to fit the unique needs of our clients. We scour our network to assemble the appropriate group to ensure that the right skills are aligned with the right projects. Okay, so why should this topic matter to you? One of the most telling quotes I've read in the past few months was from Forbes, and it goes like this: leadership today entails having the self-awareness to acknowledge you don't even know what you don't know, and the humility to listen to others. Now, there's a lot to unpack there, but as a business leader, you have to have a distinct vision for your business and your website, but you may not know how to get there. You must surround yourself with smart people or consultants to help you figure it out. This is especially true for e-commerce, with all of the new technologies that are being introduced at the speed of market and the new standards for UX that are continually being tinkered with. It's practically impossible to keep up. There are going to be big winners and big losers. And with our help, you can become a market leader rather than follower. But let's take a second to learn a little bit more about the digital consulting practice. Garrett?
Thanks, Tony. So yeah, the origins of the digital consulting practice at Royal Cyber. So Tony mentioned this, that we've been in the IT delivery and digital transformation business since 2002. And in that time, we've had a particular focus on our e-commerce B2C and B2B sites. So therefore, we've developed a very experienced and accomplished team with an extensive knowledge of e-commerce. And to give you an example, myself and Tony have got over 20 years of experience in the field. So as we've developed relationships with our client base, we found that increasingly we've been asked for our expert opinion on how to improve sites. And this has been especially in the early days from the UX perspective. So that being the case, Tony and his team developed a UX review, which was very well received by those clients that benefited from it. And it was from this seed that the concept of a digital consultancy was conceived, with Tony and myself as joint directors. We realized that we could complement our long-standing background of implementation with consultancy work. So we could add additional value by entering into the discussion earlier in the flow and influencing the decision-making process for the good. And we're ideally placed to do this because, unlike a lot of digital agencies with which we compete, our development experience means that we can actually deliver what we design. So the first initiative from the new digital consultancy was the development of a 9-point assessment, of which we'll hear more in short time. But suffice to say that the assessment has been very well received by absolutely every client that we've produced one for. But we're not ready to stop and sit on our laurels at that. We've big plans for growing the consultancy, and we're excited to share what those plans are here today. Thank you.
Thanks, Garrett. So what keeps us focused? And it may sound a little corny, but it's really our missioning statement. But it is really our foundation that we keep referring back to make sure that we're doing everything that we can for our clients. Now, I absolutely hate it when presenters, read long passages. But in this case, it's important to be exact when we're talking about our mission statement. So here we go. Our mission statement follows a formula. It consists of stating what we do, why you should care, how we do it, and how is what we do different than the competition. Okay, so the first part, this is what we do. Royal Cyber Digital Consulting provides end-to-end digital consulting services. We guide our customers through the technology landscape and identify their starting point and the path to their ideal destination for their e-commerce website. Okay, so this is why you should care. An ideal destination will differ from business to business, but we ground all our recommendations into workable solutions to make a business stand out against the competition. All right, this is how we do it. We achieve this by listening, analyzing, and testing to find the sweet spot of functionality, user experience, and technology that will improve the customer experience and improve the bottom line. Now, this is a really important point. The 3 pillars of e-commerce, as we call it, and Garrett will get a little bit more into the detail there. But to carry on, then we teach our clients how to stay nimble and to constantly evaluate their business through the eyes of their customers. And finally, this is why we're different from the competition. Now, unlike most digital consultants that can only paint pretty pictures of what is possible, with our holistic approach, we can provide the research, strategy, design, development, and customer insights to build as designed. All right. Now, we're going through a bit of a rebranding with RCDC. Garrett, with his expertise and functionality, has merged with my UX, CXA, and UI practice. Now, with Garrett's complementary service, we can now offer a complete suite of services. Besides the merger, though, there have been significant changes in RCDC. We now have a well-rounded set of assessments that can accommodate almost anything that could be ailing a website. Now, these include the Fresh Perspective Assessment, the 9-point assessment, and Garrett mentioned this, the Performance Assessment, the CXA Assessment, and the Flex Assessment. Now, Garrett and I will go into a little bit more detail on these individual assessments.
Okay, yeah, so the 9-point assessment, let's start with that. So the 9-point assessment is a 2-week evaluation of a client's website. And during that time, we assess the site from 3 perspectives, being functionality, technology, and UX, UI. And then under each of these 3 disciplines, we view the site from 3 perspectives as shown in the slide. So 3 by 3 is 9, so hence we call it the 9-point assessment. Crucially, though, these assessments will be coordinated with one another so that we give consistent recommendations. And I just want to focusing on that point. We don't want to work in silos. We each do our own work, but we collaborate very closely to make sure that the recommendations that we give are consistent. They're all joined up. So the 9-point assessment is aimed at both existing clients and new prospects. Typically, there's people that will feel that the limitations of the site that they've got are constraining their ability to achieve their goals. And they may be aware of some of all of these constraints, but they would like an independent assessment to validate their impressions and to provide recommendations on how to address them. So on completion of the assessment, we provide 2 deliverables, and the first is a report, and this details our findings together with our recommendations on how to address them. The recommendations will be grouped into high priority, fast followers, and roadmap items. The second deliverable is an interactive prototype, and in this we illustrate how the site would look if we incorporate the more prominent recommendations that we made in the report. And then these deliverables are for the business to keep, irrespective of whether they choose to engage Royal Cyber for their development work or not.
Thank you, Garrett. The next assessment is the performance assessment. Now, I don't have to tell you how important performance assessments are, and we love them, and we love them so much that we've actually come up with 2 different ones. Our first performance assessment provides a quick 2-week front-end only UI analysis of your website's overall speed. Our second is a 4-week assessment, which is much more comprehensive in that it examines both your front end and back end. Now, the latter assessment also provides a high-level sprint delivery plan, so it actually makes everything that we recommend actionable. So I just want to take a moment because, I've heard an argument continually when it comes to performance assessments, and it's why can't we just use one of the free tools out there? And there are a lot of them. And the answer is you can, and you'll get a lot of data from these tools. But what you won't get is an expert analysis of that data along with a plan and the resources to fix those issues. That's the difference. All right. Now I want to talk about another assessment, the CXA assessment. And I know all of you are familiar with launching a website. We all have experience doing that. But the most important thing comes after launching the website. It's the constantly improving of that website, which is the holy grail, at least from your customer's perspective. Our 2-week CXA assessment starts to uncover the top of funnel and bottom of funnel friction points your customers may be experiencing. We then offer workable solutions to improve conversion. Now, a 2-week assessment is a great start, and you'll get some wonderful ideas on the possible friction points, but identifying customer patterns and designing and testing solutions take time. We like to tell our clients it takes at least 6 months to identify and validate customer friction points. And then, this is the most important part, design and test solutions, because you don't want to introduce something that is actually going to make it worse. But once these solutions are launched, they can have a dramatic effect on conversions. Garrett?
Thanks, Tony. So the next one we're going to talk about is our Flex assessment. And this is based on feedback we received when conducting 9-point assessments. And basically, it's an evolution and extension of the 9-point assessment. The 9-point assessment itself can be reasonably flexible, but we found that some clients have very focused views on what they want us to look at, or else they want additional things in addition to the basic 9-point assessment. So we'll therefore tailor the Flex assessment in line with those requirements. The Flex assessment is aimed at those businesses that have more focused or bespoke requirements. And typically, like the 9-point assessment, the deliverables will be a report containing the prioritized findings and recommendations that we talked about, and together with the interactive prototype.
Thanks, Garrett. Now we're going to take a look at our new fresh perspective.
Yeah, I want to tell you now about our fresh perspective assessment. So we'll have a deeper dive into that. So what is it? What We believe that the health and effectiveness of your e-commerce site rests on three mutually supporting pillars. And these are the functionality it contains. So do you have class-leading functionality, and is it implemented from a best-of-breed perspective? And are you fully utilizing the capability of your e-com platform? The user experience, is your site engaged and intuitive to use? The technology it rests on, is your site performant and secure, and is the architecture well designed, and are you geared for growth? And if you tick all three of these boxes, then we'll ensure that basically you're ready to compete in an increasingly tough marketplace. So over the course of 6 weeks, we'll perform a rigorous assessment of your website, and we'll present the findings and recommendations to you, together with a plan of how to address them. And this is a very collaborative process where we work closely with the client at every step. In the 9-point assessment, that the depth of inclusion varies. We've done assessments where basically we've taken it away and got on with it, and others where we've worked very closely with the clients. We find it works best when you work closely, but we can do it, on a standalone basis. But with the fresh perspective, it's going to have to be very much a collaborative effort. So who will benefit from this? So if these points resonate with you, then you're going to be in the line for benefiting. So you may be planning a site upgrade, replatforming, or you just welcome a fresh and independent perspective from a team of experienced e-commerce specialists. The industry is moving at an increasingly fast pace, and you're interested in adopting the latest advancements to stay competitive, and you're focused on change. So in terms of the deliverables, and if just recall with the 9-point assessment, we had two main deliverables. As you see, with the fresh perspective, it's far more rigorous, and we have a lot more deliverables coming out of it. It's 6 weeks as opposed to 2 weeks. And this allows us to delve deeper and not only make recommendations, but illustrate how they should be implemented. So in essence, this is a UX and technology discovery phase, and at the end of it, we'll deliver a high-level agile sprint delivery plan. So as you can see on the slide, here's a full list of the deliverables, and I'm not going to go through them all, but it just gives you an idea of the sort of the length and depth that we go down to. So in terms of the approach, the first thing we do is understand the business model. So, I mean, this could be a new client that we've not worked with before. So we need to look into their business model. This is a combination of market research and discussions with the client, and this will give us context for the remainder of the assessment. Then we want to understand the pain points, goals, and aspirations. So, what is driving this? What is the problem statement that we're trying to address? So, what issues currently exist? What targets do they have, and where are they aiming to get to? And do they have a roadmap? Then we want to assess the website and provide recommendations. And this will be a combination of our own research and interactive sessions with the client. We articulate and prioritize the requirements. So this will be a combination of our findings and discussions and workshops with the client to factor in their own thoughts and priorities. And at the end of this, we'll have an agreed scope. Then we create a clear roadmap to achieve the goals, and this will result in the creation of a high-level agile sprint delivery plan. So in terms of the timeline, I'm not going to go through this in great detail, but you can see here that it's quite comprehensive. We've got the 3 workflows, and after each week or for each week, we've got the deliverable and the activities that are going to be going on in that period. The one thing I do want to call out is the little grey bar in the center, the vertical bar, and this is calling out the point I made earlier, that it's a very collaborative approach, not just with the client, but within our own 3 disciplines, that we want to make sure that we're very cohesive and joined up in our approach. So although it's showing 1 bar, actually this will be an ongoing process. We'll have like a formal point where we'll collaborate, but we'll actually be collaborating very much as we go along. So that's our assessments. This slide, and I'm not going to go through it in detail, but it points out the assessments that we do, that we've all just talked about, the duration. It points out whether it's a free assessment or a paid assessment. and whether it's suitable for existing clients and or prospects. So we'll provide this to you as a takeaway at the end, the whole deck, and you'll have reference to this. So at that point, I shall hand back to Tony.
Okay, thanks, Garrett. This is a case study on the 9-point assessment that we did for UFA, the United Farmers of Alberta. Now, the problem statement was pretty straightforward. UFA felt that the overall user experience was not optimized. In addition to that, they are a cooperative and they just launched the marketplace, and they felt that those experiences were kind of suspect as well. Now, as with all 9-point assessments, once we get into doing the assessment, we may find other issues that we hadn't talked about originally with the client. And this was no different. When we got into doing the 9-point assessment for UFA, we noticed that the brand presentation didn't seem to sync up with their desired brand association. So we took a look at that as well. Now, this is just a sampling of the written report that we provided UFA. Now, this is the area that Garrett's responsible for. It's the functional checklist. And as you can see, this is just one page of 10. So you could get an idea of the breadth of some of the observations and recommendations that we discover in a 9-point assessment. Now, this is just one page out of the heuristic evaluation. Again, this is one of 9 pages. Now, what you'll find, and this is why what Garrett does and what I do complements each other so well, Garrett's observations tend to be a little bit more granular, and mine are a little bit more broad, obviously looking at things like the information architecture and the structure of the navigation are a little bit more broad. But the great thing about this process is that Garrett and I work so collaboratively, we can go back and forth between our findings and look for that sweet spot. The areas where his functional checklist, my heuristic evaluation, and also the technology portion of this assessment overlap, and that's what actually makes it into the interactive prototype. So let's take a look at the interactive prototype that we did for UFA. First thing I wanted to share with you is the current site for UFA. And just working from the top down, there's some obvious challenges. The way in which they structure their header, and then the way in which they use a mobile styled navigational structure is a bit of a challenge. The reason why I tend to stay away from this type of navigational structure is it requires an extra click to get somewhere. The other thing is, for all those new customers coming to the site, they don't immediately get a sense of the breadth of the product catalog. Now let's just go into one subcategory. And the other challenges that they have from a marketplace perspective is that it's not immediately clear which products are from UFA and which products are from sellers. In this case, you have to actually check mark. But when you actually get into, let's just go to this product. This is actually a product that's offered by a seller, but the problem with the experience is it doesn't allow you to get actually any information from the seller. Because if you actually go to the page or go to the modal in this case, there's really not that much information. So the thing about having a marketplace is you want to provide the ability for customers to be able to learn and then also start a relationship with the individual sellers. And then that's missing. You know, one of the other areas I said that we looked at is the cooperative experience. And one of the challenges that they have with the cooperative experience is that in several of the journeys that we looked at, you actually get information on what are the benefits of becoming a member. but then you quickly go into somewhat of an e-commerce experience when you start to look at product. And what happens is that you jump in between the cooperative experience and the e-commerce experience, and you may jump back to the cooperative experience. And every single time you do that, you actually launch a new window. So there's some things that are problematic about the current experience. And we'll get into some of the recommendations that we made in our interactive prototype. Okay, so let's take a look at what we recommended. So Garrett mentioned, right out of the gate, one of the things that you want to be able to do is to show the breadth of your product catalog. And one of the most important ways you do that is by trying to represent as much as you can on the homepage. Now, obviously, having a way to surface categories that may be buried is a quick way to immediately show potential customers the breadth of your product catalog. The other thing that we stress to UFA is if they're going to have a promotion on the homepage, they need to be very upfront about what the benefit is and a quick way to get to said promotion. There also has to be a way to surface featured products. And again, a very, very effective way to show the breadth of the product catalog. This is another example of if you're going to have a promotion, you need to be very clear on what the benefit is, what the value of this discount is, and why the customer should actually take notice. This is just the start of personalization. And obviously having personalization on your homepage especially, but not just in one carousel, but looking at the entire homepages as an area that can be completely personalized is really the price of admission these days. Okay, so that was the homepage, but the other thing that we looked at was, the information architecture and the navigational structure. Now, you could see right away that we've moved away from the mobile styled approach to the navigation. We've also surfaced all of the product areas and made those primary categories so you can immediately see the breadth of the product catalog here. We've also done some things because, again, thinking about the return customers, and very similar to B2B, these customers will be trying to reorder products that they've ordered in the past and looking for ways that we can make it very easy for them to find those products that they've ordered in the past through sorting by recent orders or filtering by the primary categories that they've been using, and then being able to very easily just click and add it to the cart, we felt was a huge benefit for these customers. The other thing that we looked at was improving their search experience. This is definitely the price of admission, having a very strong suggestive search experience that not only surfaces the different categories and subcategories that a search query might be in, but also the most popular products that are related to that search query. That is just basic, and it was missing in the current experience. Now, let's talk about the navigation. One of the other things that was missing, that is missing in the current experience, are category hub pages. These are extremely important for new customers that may not be 100% certain on the products that they're interested in. So on the top of each of the categories, we have a category hub page. Now, one of the interesting things is that in the current experience, in the co-op section of the site, they have an abundance of amazing content. And all of the content that we've surfaced on this category hub page actually exists in the membership experience. We just felt it was more appropriate in the e-commerce experience. Now, we also wanted to pull up, again, content that we found in the co-op area. We pulled into the buying experience because, especially in these huge categories, we wanted to be able to give customers enough information to make or to validate a decision to either go to the product detail page or to add to cart, or even to get more details. There's wonderful videos, and we're suggesting that they surface that and put that into the category hub pages. And then they also have a payment product that is available to all their customers, but it's buried. And we think that would be appropriate content to pull higher up, possibly into these category hubs, as we talked about, or maybe even up to the homepage. And then also a way in which they can surface the most popular categories within this particular, or the most popular subcategories within this particular category. So let's take a look at the navigational structure that we suggested. And it's a very simple two-tier structure that allows customers to very quickly drill down to the areas that they're most interested in. We completely rethought the product list pages, and we wanted to make it easy for customers to be able to understand the filters that are being used for this product list page, to be able to exit them. And the other thing that we wanted to make extremely easy, as I said, is the ability for customers to understand more about the sellers and start to create a relationship with them. So we're suggesting a very simple hover state that provides more information about a product. But then you could see this link here, and this goes to, and this again is a page that is not unusual. It is used on most marketplaces. It gives the top line information on a particular seller so the potential customers understand who they're dealing with. But if a customer starts to feel comfortable with this particular seller and wants to be able to see what other products they have on UFA, they could do that very quickly by just a single click. They go to the seller's storefront and understands the entire breadth of the products that they sell. Very easy. But let's just dive a little bit deeper into what we think would be a much more streamlined and intuitive top of funnel journey. So you could either, we're not suggesting that for a $5,000 item that you would add to cart from this point, but we do believe that there should be a quick view feature that allows customers to get a little bit more information, and should they choose to add to cart, they could do it at this level. But most of the time, they're going to go to the product detail page, and we're suggesting a much simpler product detail page that allows for easy scanning to get the information that they want, that leads to the call to action, but then also having a way to get more information, possibly through a 3D feature, which Royal Cyber has a product that allows you to create 3D images from just two images. It's quite effective, suggesting using video as well. But then again, making it easy for these customers to validate the decision to add to cart. Now, I wanted to point out a couple other areas that we feel are missed opportunities in the current experience. One is the upsell, hugely important, leaving a lot of money on the table if you don't even have even rudimentary placements for upsell. But they need to be special types of products that have few attributes, so the decision to add to cart is pretty easy. Plus, you need to be upfront with what the benefit is. But the other place I wanted to mention was in the mini cart. Couple things about the mini cart. You want it to be a way for the system to provide feedback, and it's amazing how many times this is missed. But making sure that the system gives feedback that a product has been added to the cart is extremely important. But then also giving the control to the customers to be able to remove an item and not have to go to the cart to do that. But the other important aspect about the mini cart is it's an amazing area for upsells. Now, when you go to the cart, there's a couple things that I wanted to mention here. Obviously, we're trying to make it as simple as possible, having the order summary with the price story always available on the right-hand side. Again, amazing opportunity for an upsell, but being able to do simple things like add to list from the cart page is extremely important, and it adds to AOV. But then also in the control area, be able to edit, remove a product without having to go to the product detail page is extremely important. So let's just quickly go through the checkout process. This is a interstitial that if this particular customer is not a member, it's one last place before you go to checkout to share with them the benefits. And if they choose to join at this point, this will be added to their dividends. And they could do that. So if they can choose to continue without membership, they can do that. And I just want to go through this very simple checkout process because I want to get to the confirmation page, which again, the reason why I want to share this with you is that it's a extremely powerful place for an upsell, but a specific kind of upsell. It is the timed promotion that in this case, you only have 15 minutes to decide. And these are extremely powerful. Okay. That's our presentation for today.